Hello, YouTube. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stratosphere Studio. It's the 23rd of December, so Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Thanks, Pete, for being here. We'll see you. It's a short show tonight. Gotta go. Hope everybody's doing well. I saw a comment which amused me on the I guess it was on last show on Thursday when I was talking about the MRI stuff, and somebody said, "Oh, could there be anything more boring than a boomer talking about his health for an hour?" And I thought, no, I think you pretty much nailed it. I think that's about as dull as it's going to get. Curious to know why you watched it for an hour. Uh, but people have different tastes and things. And as we've said before, main purpose of this show is for people who have deep insomnia issues, or perhaps it's just to have some kind of noise on while you're in a medical coma or something along those lines. So basically, that's what the show's always been, and that's what we're proud to provide on a semi-weekly basis. Um, so I hope everybody's doing well. Merry Christmas again to everybody. You people from Missouri, we get people from all over the world. It's just astonishing to me. Don't really have a big long list of things to talk about. The I have I don't know if I've mentioned this. Uh, I guess, my gosh, the speaker Steve said thank you for watching Lapco's 123. It was long overdue. Um, uh, so I'm just let me just set up these windows here. Um, and yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned this before, um, but I got a chance to. We talked about I wanted to do the Navy for Daily Wire, and they passed on that. They wanted to do conspiracy theories, and I don't know if I mentioned or not. I counterpitched. I said things are so different now than they were before the election. Everybody's just so positive, and things are happening so fast. And um, you know, can we do a show about an optimistic future? And that's basically what I'm pitching to them. I'm pitching a show called "Make the Future Great Again." And the premise would be that we'd start off with the 1964 World's Fair video that I saw on the Futurama 2 exhibit for General Motors, which was all about this incredible future that I was, as a 5-year-old boy, was utterly convinced was, literally just hours away, and never developed. But now it's really looking like a lot of this stuff is really going to happen. So we I just think things have changed. If it turns out they pass on this, then I'll do it to replace things to come. I'll just make things to come into, because that was all about really heading to bleak times. And it's incredible really how pervasive the 4 Biden years have been, especially with with the 2020 election, and just how, and Kamala cackling, and more and more and more of this trans aggression, and just every damn thing, and just one embarrassment after another. So all of a sudden it's like, wow, man. So I took a look at the World's Fair thing again. It's available online, although I realize it's a slightly abridged version. I mentioned before, when I think back about this, was sometimes the internet, in fact, often YouTube is wonderful because you get to see things you haven't seen since you were a kid. But in this case, I remember these panoramas being, 50 yards by 50 yards wide, stretching practically to the horizon. Turns out they're probably about the size of a decent dinner table. But in any event, you go through all these different panoramas. You see crawlers on the moon, and then you see, Antarctic research stations, and underwater cities, and all this nifty stuff. So my pitch is basically saying this is what we thought we were going to get in 1964, and then we spent 50 years doing nothing, and now 60 years doing nothing. Now I think we have the ability to to see a lot of these things actually happening. So what I basically want to do is I want to do a show on make aviation great again, make space great again, make undersea exploration great again, and just go out there and look at all of these real world companies that are doing all this stuff. Because one thing I did notice, and it needs to be said, it's part of the pitch for the show, was that all of this optimistic stuff was very, very utopian. You know, and and the world just doesn't work like that. It's not just that we didn't get the technology. I just think some of those premises were just flawed. You know, I remember it closed with the city of the future, where man's traditions and values, are held in high esteem. It's like, no. But there's just so much cool stuff going on out there. And I remember I told you guys about when I went to visit the space shuttle set that they have out here. It's the set they've used on just about every movie that ever had a space shuttle in it. Um, and and I passed these guys, and they were working on making. Private company was doing just rebreathers, just so you could, um, breathe underwater without an air tank. You just recycle the. You don't actually lose oxygen. You probably have a little oxygen feeder tank, but there are no bubbles. Main thing that you can't do underwater is you just got to scrub the carbon dioxide out. So they had these rebreathers, and they beautifully made. All these brand new defense companies like Anduril and Boom, which is making supersonic flight possible for since roughly the mid '60s, we thought we'd be flying from New York to London in 2 hours, and honestly, you could do New York to L.A. in an hour, a little over hour and a half, something like that. So I think it'd be fun, and if we do it with Daily Wire, which I very much want to do, then it would be real different than it wouldn't really be what we saw, because that's more of a history show. But I'd like to really get out in the field and do it that way. I'd like to go to Boom Aerospace, and I'd like to see the vehicle and watch a test flight. I'd like to ride in some of these private submarines. I'd like to do a bunch of this stuff. Take a look at what these space habitats and stuff. There are just so many small companies. Yeah, what we wish we had seen. That's great, Marisha. And just look at all of the amazing stuff that's happening, and it's all private enterprise, all of it. None of it comes from the government. That's kind of the political point, because it has to have some kind of political point. It's really just plain, here's what the 21st century is able to deliver if you just get out of the way. If we just stop tying our own shoelaces together, and go back to progress when progress meant progressing rather than regressing, because progressives are just all about the past, and they're all about, well, you've got to be upset about this. This happened 150 years ago, and you can't possibly forget. They're just miserable, small-minded people who just want us to do less and less. That ancient saw of mine about, their vision of the future is just a bunch of people sitting around in a circle outside a thatched hut, with picking lice off each other, eating their sustainable algae cakes, and, raising awareness for the Guatemalan water snake kind of, BS future. I think things like thorium reactors, self-contained reactors, nuclear propulsion for space vehicles, all this stuff is on the table now. And we'll see. Fire Ueco says, is Daily Wire taking over Tim Pool? I haven't heard that, although I don't have any inside information on any of that. I believe he was there for their election night coverage, I think. Yeah, I heard that Jeremy managed to turn that into they just did a capitalization for $1 billion. That's a hunk of change, man. So amazing, absolutely fantastic. In any event, we'll find out about that. But I'd like to want to get out in the field, because when I'm around people that make really cool stuff, I get really excited, and that usually is amusing. See me bouncing off of walls over things, you know. I think there's a good chance we could get down to SpaceX. They're in real tight with Mr. Musk, and you know, just talk about this future that we were supposed to get, and so we'll see. Uh, I just think it'd be fun, and if it turns out they don't want to do that, then I'll probably just turn it into a series of videos. I don't think I'll be able to do all of the, or even, I don't know. I mean, it's not it's super expensive to go out. Most of these places are, a lot of them are in California, and you could probably make if you had a tight crew, a two-man crew, a sound guy and a camera guy, you could probably do this for a reasonable amount of money. So maybe do a little crowdsourcing thing or something for that future, and I'd like to really just look at just just how bright the future is in the real world, and part of that would be in the computer world too. You know, with just, I think Unreal Engine 5 is just Unreal in general. This idea of giving it to people for free is it's so forward thinking. It's so it's just farsighted. You know, yeah, but just make the game engine available to everybody, and then we just take a percentage of the people who develop games that actually get made. It's so different than Autodesk, and I'm so used to having to pay through $7,000 or something for 3D rendering software, and now it's like, no, this engine's there for free. It's just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to all of that. And I saw something that somebody in the comment section maybe can help me with this. I think I saw something that said that The View was canceled. I see a lot of headlines that are either AI generated or just plain not true. But that would be that would be something. And we're going to get the story mechanics, the famous the ever receding story mechanics. We'll get that started first of the year. So we're going to have I think 2025 is going to be a great year. I did not have a fun 2024 as a general rule, but yeah. Sherry Miller asked, when do we get the free electricity? LOL. You may not get it for free, but you might get it for a very small amount of money. They've got these little pocket reactors the size of a small school bus, and they're completely self-contained. They can't melt down. You don't need guys monitoring them. You don't need water cooling. They're just it's a capsule basically. You bury this thing out in the backyard, and it provides 25 megawatts for 25 years, and it's making 25 megawatts whether you use your air conditioning or not. So you just go out and heat and air condition the outdoors all you want to. You just, it's just energy to burn. I saw that the first fusion reactor is expected to come online by 2035, 2032 or something. They're saying, yeah, it's going to be, what was the city? I want to say it was Chicago, but it might not have been Chicago. But they're building a fusion plant, and then they said, now of course this is not actually, technology's not actually been proven yet, but we're building the plant. I saw this is the kind of thing that made me want to do this thing on the future. So the fusion plants that have always been, it's in Virginia, isn't it? Yes, Virginia. Thank you. Lab Code Super Chat for 666. Sorry, hang real quick. Hey, Hell's Club 3, wait, what am I doing? That'll get expensive quick. Always check your motorcycle for provocative balloons. We're going to start another Get Bill to watch a movie for money kind of thing. Here's the thing. The fusion reactors that they're building are nearly the size of the main room in CERN, in the big particle accelerator. They're enormous, gigantic, just huge, huge, and they're billions and billions of dollars to make. And they've got a torus, and then the torus has to have an envelope around it to capture the heat and all kinds of other things. Then there's a problem with this stuff actually becoming radioactive because of some of these isotopes coming out, and they don't want any radioactivity. That's the beautiful thing about fusion. And it's this gigantic, humongous, expensive thing. And then this American company came up with this idea of, instead of trying to keep everything inside this one torus, this American company came up with this idea of making two toruses, tori, I guess, and smashing them together. And then inside the center of this is where you inject the little pellet, and it's the size of I don't know, it's the size of two really big lathes. It's infinitely smaller. It's got to cost a percentage, or less than a percentage of what this tokamak Russian Soviet design is. And yeah, Miles says fusion's always 15 years away. These guys are doing it. I saw the reactor, and they've achieved fusion with it, and it's just plain unbelievably simple compared to what. This is what's given me this idea. So this is kind of the idea of the make the future great again. We thought that space-based power systems would be these, mile-wide arrays of solar cells with these gigantic solar structures that had to be built with all this scaffolding, and the space shuttle would require 50 flights to build this thing. Is going to make the space station look like a toy. Just these enormous these enormous, banks and banks and banks of solar cells in space. And then somebody out there, a company's actually doing it, launching a little tiny little satellite that just carries enough solar panels to beam energy to one house via laser. Did a right angle on that, and this is the thing. See, the future is going to be considerably more decentralized. That's what we couldn't see in 1964. We're still in the middle of the industrial era. Information age hadn't even hit us yet. And we thought everything would be big, industrial, enormous, and it's going to be, no, it's going to be much smaller, much more personalized, much lighter. I've gotten a little hooked on these little houses, these little modular habitats. Some of them look like, I mentioned this on the last shot, some of them look like space habitats. They're really cool. They're like 50 grand, 60 grand, and they're tiny, but they look really cool. And somebody said, oh, you ought to buy some land up in Idaho and just put a little module there. And it's like, yeah, I can get some work done in my module. I could have a living module, and then I could have a working module. And it gets cold up there, which is motivating for me. This is what it's a problem for my wife and I to find a place. That's one of the reasons why we're in Los Angeles, I guess. She's from Siberia, and then Moscow, and I'm from Bermuda, Florida, and in California. So I kind of want to live someplace cold. Now, people who live cold places said, you think you want to live someplace cold because it's a novelty. If you really have to live someplace cold, you're going to hate it. Maybe. But she doesn't want to live someplace cold ever again. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll put a module in Idaho, and I'll put another module in Florida. Yeah, I guess I'll do Florida. And T. Mumi over here says, Lancaster log homes. I want this thing to look like, it's got to look like, there are lots and lots of tiny homes, and some of them are really cool. And needless to say, once you get into container homes, there's just tons of them. But these things look like, they just look like habitats, man. They got the lettering on the side and everything. They just curved windows and just freaking cool. And I think, I can do cold, man. I want it to look like the Jupiter 2. In fact, it would be freaking bitchin' to build a scale model Jupiter 2 and just put it out on a tripod and live in that. I wonder what that would cost. I bet it would be pretty expensive. But maybe not that expensive, Because that'd be just wild. Just put the that saucer is gorgeous. That saucer is just gorgeous. I could do cold, but Natasha won't do cold. She's done cold, so there you go. Bill, did you see a guy in Vietnam build a boat that's a flying saucer? I think I did see a guy with a submarine. Anyway, so I'd like to do a show on all the cool stuff that's out there, and we'll see. I'm working on the pitch, and whoops, and we'll find out whether or not we'll be able to do that. Probably right at the very beginning of the year. So, other than that, Jupiter 2 would have to have the engine sound effects. Yes, the whole bottom would have to be the lights. The lights would have to go. It's that super high pitched kind of that saucer is gorgeous, and that sound effect of the Jupiter 2's engines is unmatched. It's just that would be freaking boss. I bet it's not. I bet it wouldn't be that terribly hard, because you could build the life-size Jupiter. But they built one. They had a life-size Jupiter 2 for one of the episodes. They had a full-scale Jupiter 2, not the one that was on the ground, that was in every single episode in season 2. They built a full-scale Jupiter 2 that the Robinsons walked out of for one of their episodes. I think where they go back to Earth in the past or something in season 3, and I've seen a video on the restoring of the Jupiter 2 model, which is, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet across or something, and fiberglass, and basically just has the ribs, just the rib section going around the center, and then it's just a fiberglass layup on top of it. And you could practically do that. You know what? So I don't know if he's watching. I don't know if he's watching live or if he's watching recording or not, but get your bingo cards out. But so what the genius of one of the many aspects of the genius of Burt Rutan was that when he made the long easy and the very easy, he made them so that they could be built at home, and he invented the foam and hot wire fiberglass method. So the surface of a wing is a very precise shape. And what he did was he had paper templates, life-size paper templates on the plans of what the wing form would be as it gets further and further out there. And you would make them out of metal or out of wood, and you'd space them apart, and you'd use this blue foam. And then you would take a hot wire, and you would just basically run it over both ends, over these wood or metal templates, and you would cut it out, and then the foam has got the perfect airfoil shape. Then you take the blue foam and you lay up fiberglass on top of it. I'll bet you could build yourself a fiberglass Jupiter 2 that looked pretty frickin' bitchin'. And I don't think it'd be crazy expensive. Gotta think about that. Like a surfboard, yeah. I guess that's how they make surfboards. But man, yeah, that would be wild. Just have the windows facing out over a nice mountain view, and then you just put the thing on tripod, and it's got the tripod legs. You keep the gear down, obviously, and then you just have the viewports. And you got you come up the stairs. You got a little, hey, Merry Christmas to people coming in just now. The average cost to build a house in the United States ranges from $100 to $200 per square foot. I find that hard to believe, because I could live with, I guess. So I could easily afford a 16 square foot house. I think that's well within my means. Yeah, it's a great hobby idea once the Bitchy Camaro's finished. It's fun to think about that. But in any event, these modular houses look like something right out of the colonies. They're fantastic. T Mummy says, when you build a Jupiter 2, let me know. I'll help you do it. But thank you, and I'll take you up on that. But if you extruded the ribs, basically, you would probably want to do plywood. because I want to say that's what they did. Did they do wood or fiberglass? I don't remember. But if you could lay plywood around, if you did the plywood radially, it would probably bend and probably be all right. Be kind of neat, man. And of course, the hard part is putting in the drive, the star drive, to get it to actually fly places. But you can start out slow and just kind of work your way up. That'd be a fun thing to do. I'd get a lot of work done if I was there. Foam core. VTB arrow in our comment section over on Twitch says foam core with uni or bid. Here's a guy who knows what he's talking about, because you don't often hear people talking about bid. Bid is bidirectional weave fiberglass, and I think they basically came up with it in order to make these long easies and very easies and all the rest of this stuff. Foam, the hot wire foam thing is just brilliant. I've flown a long easy for a year. I've flown it hard, put some G's on that thing, and strong, really solid. Dave Big Booty says, Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me, aren't you? Asked the robot. Mrs. Robinson, I love the robot. Robot was my friend. Get steel ribs like those warehouse garages. Yeah, you could do. But again, I'd be perfectly happy to live in one of these little module pods and $50,000. Get a loan for that. Build an actual house for that. That'd be cool. I think it'd be fun. Be good to own a little land too. It was real important to my dad when he bought property in the U.S. He really was important to him that he owned a piece of ground. So I've never done that, and I'm getting to the point where I'm probably old enough so that I could, ought to start thinking about it. I should build my Jupiter 2 across from the Daily Wire building. I'll build it on the top of this gigantic, huge pillar. The actual Jupiter 2 will be resting, I don't know, 500 feet in the air, let's say. It's going to look like the world's largest bowling trophy, and that way I'll be able to come out with my robe and my smoking jacket. My smoking jacket, my fez, and my cup of I don't know, fine cognac, glass of fine cognac, and just kind of walk it and just look down on Daily Wire on a daily basis. That's what I'd like. I'd like to have my Jupiter 2 home visible from every window in the Daily Wire's building, and just be like out there like this giant bowling trophy. That would be pretty cool. California warning. California regulations on Jupiter 2 construction. LOL. Yeah, good luck with that. Lapco Night 2 says, I'll move to a rural part of Oklahoma, best of both worlds, 100 plus summers, I don't like the 100 plus summers, but a couple of good freezes in winter, and you can play the red dirt like Mars. Yeah, that sounds like the worst of all worlds. I don't know. It's, we'll see, we'll see. Yes, broadcasting from the shadow of the Jupiter 2, it's the Daily Wire. The Jupiter 2, the Bill Whittle Tower, Jupiter 2, the tallest building in all of Nashville. Tallest building in the state of Tennessee. Just nothing but a pedestal with a high-speed elevator in there, and not even a high-speed elevator, slow-speed. I want a low-speed elevator like the one that was actually in the Jupiter 2. I want that to come all the way down to the ground floor to go up to 500 stories, and I want it to move at the same speed. I want it to take, 45 minutes to get from the bottom to the top, and if it turns out I have to get out of there because of a fire, I'll either have a parachute or I could rappel down on a zip line or something. That'd be, pretty cool. All right, I think what I'll probably do now is go ahead and get into the questions here, because this is getting a little bit silly. Did I miss? Yes, I did. Thank you. John Wayne, what a great name, with the $49 super chat. $50 super chat. Recently watched Empire of Terror, as usual, excellent. What was the choral arrangement in the intro? Each episode of America's Forgotten Heroes gave me a lump in my throat and almost a tears, especially Chamberlain at Appomattox. Thank you, John. Thank you for the super chat. The opening credits for Empire of Terror, I think, is I don't think that was done specifically for the show. I mean, the music. I'm pretty sure the music is classical Russian uh, music. It's because it's a Russian choral song. But the opening graphics are the best opening graphics I've ever seen. It's the best title sequence I've ever seen on a documentary series for Empire of Terror. I just love it when they put the bacillus and all that stuff in there. I've forgotten how good that was. But thank you very much for the super chat, and thank you for the kind words. I was very very proud of that work. Um, um, Precocious Curmudgeon says the Jetsons remain prescient to this day. Yeah, so well, that's the thing about putting the Jupiter 2 thing on top of the thing. You basically get the Jetsons. I could live with the Jetsons house as well. I could live with a spire with the circular landing thing. You put your quad rotor on, or my jet. Yeah, put your Jetsons on there. I've never seen the Jetson flying car, the real one. The one that they've got the quad rotor. I've never seen that thing get up above, I don't know, 20 feet, 30 feet, and I don't know if it's clearly. So the problem with the quad rotors are you've got a dead man zone, and that dead man zone is when you're high enough above the ground to kill you, but not so high that a parachute has time to work. That's You don't get that with a helicopter because a helicopter can always auto rotate. That's why helicopters don't take off straight up; they go forward for their takeoff because you can auto rotate at any point during that flight profile in a helicopter. And the jet only works in ground effect. I've seen it. I don't think so, Roadrunner, because I don't think the Jetson has ground effect. I think in order for ground effect to work, you have to have wings or some enclosed area like a ground effect vehicle, like a hovercraft or something. I don't think the Jetsons clearly gets out of ground effect. And it's clearly moving fast enough to get out of ground effect. I may be wrong about that, but I'd be surprised if I was. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, Paul Moeller, he built a bunch of flying. It's FAA's in the way with all this as usual. So there you go. Once again, it's a me problem, meaning an us problem, a government problem. We'd just be doing all of this stuff if it weren't for our government telling us what we can do and not do. All right, let's go over and find out what's going on in the big forum here, the major forum, the forum. They did when I was at University of Florida. This would be summer of 1981. I want to say 80, 81. Most of the students were either home on summer vacation or doing a play in St. Augustine called Cross and Sword, which is kind of a founding outdoor drama that's put on by the city of St. Augustine. And they were out there having a lot of fun. And I stayed up there for summer school that year. And it was, we did, a funny thing happened on the way to the forum for summer. And I was not on stage for that, but there's a song by this guy, a character named Milos Gloriosus. He's the general, and it's all about how wonderful he is. And these two legionnaires pick him up, one by each leg, and they parade him around like this. And he says, "I, Milos Gloriosus, I champion a million," and he's singing all this stuff. And then one of these guys starts to drop him, and he's slipping, and he's going down. And this guy who's propped up one by each leg, one of these legs starts going, and he's tipping over like this, and he doesn't drop a beat. He keeps singing all the way down to the crash, and then he's lying sideways on the stage, and he has the great sense to not get back up to his feet because then it looks like an accident. He finishes the song lying sideways like this, and brought the house down. It was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. All right, let's see what we got here. One of many hilarious stories that you should have been there. Yes, Bill does read those comments, Matt the Bulldog. He glances at them. He catches what he can in the way that a modest fisherman might, just fishing for his own subsistence and that of his poor family. Okay, here we go. Questions for Monday, 12/23, Christmas Eve edition. Curated by Roadrunner. Thank you, Roadrunner. Here we go. So we got a Roadrunner, we got a Ian Nolan, we got a Road Rider, we got a Ray Juarez, got a second Ray Juarez, got a Eric Blake, got a Marusha Dark, got a George Freeland. All right, we can get to that. Oh, I saw one that the George Freeland question looked really good. So there we go. So we start with Roadrunner. Greetings, friend William. Greetings to you, Roadrunner, and hope you have a Merry Christmas. Now that the election is finally over, thank God, amen to that. What do you think is the main thing keeping you from making progress on your many projects, story mechanics, the colonies, things to come, etc.? Low T is what I think the answer is. P.S. Since Biden pardoned several Chinese spies, including a relative of a member of the Chinese Communist Party that had been caught with child porn and others that seek to harm our country, I think your Crazy Joe post should have been titled Trader Joe. Oh, God. Oh, why didn't I think of that? It was a great commercial. Thank you. Why didn't I think of Trader Joe's? Oh, my God. Oh, man, when I miss an opportunity like that. I got something wrong on the when pork flies. I got manumission wrong. I said that was the oath of fealty, but I was wrong. Manumission is freeing of a serf or a peasant. Yeah. So let me get back to that first question. That first answer. I've been feeling since. So I turned 65 years ago, and right around then, I just felt my testosterone levels just go off a cliff, just plummet. And I'd been begging my GP to put me on hormone replacement therapy for a while, and I finally just everyone shame Bill Whittle. Yeah, shame. And then they finally then my GP died of a heart attack suddenly. Man who was in excellent health just keeled over. But as you have undoubtedly heard by now, there's nothing abnormal about that whatsoever. The man was 47 years old, had a health care. Not only was he a doctor, but he had was Gold's Health Center. I mean, he measured telomere lengths and had all these supplements and stuff. And he just plain. We went down there and I went down there for a regular checkup, and then boom, 2 days later, gone. He was required to take the shot by California law, I think, as a doctor. So I don't know. People have died suddenly of heart attacks prior to the Victrola, but I don't know. Is this me coming out? No, I'm not doing any transition or anything, but it's approved, so I might be starting on some hormone replacement therapy, and I've heard that it really helps focus and drive. Because I've been feeling like I'm running on compressed air for a long time instead of red-blooded American hot blood. Just been feeling like, pfft. So we're going to find out. We'll see. We have a super chat here from the Hangar. Thank you very much. It says, "Where did you get your Star Trek statues?" I did a freeze frame on the highest resolution I could find of the Arena episode. Picked a frame I liked, did a freeze frame, grabbed it into Photoshop, cut out everything that wasn't Gorn or Kirk, and then had them printed. They actually hold up pretty well. Even, I mean, it's 640 by 480, and for a print, that's pretty fuzzy. But in any event, I think they hold up pretty well. So I'm really happy with them. And they didn't cost too much. You can get these kind of things for very little money nowadays. These a couple $100 or less, I think, for these guys on foam core. And Captain Kirk sits on a floor stand, and the Gorn has got. I should probably show you. He's been standing there for long enough. Hang on a minute. I built this kind of armature for him, you see. And then we got a couple wires here. And then I can write them up. Huzzah! I'm Elis Gloriosus. So that's where I got my Star Trek figures from. Let's see here. Gets up from chair is on the bingo card? My God. It's almost unbelievable. Okay. So anyway, I'm hoping to start on that and pick it up tonight. How did you find somebody to print that without permission? They didn't care. It's from 1967 or something like that. Some places won't print stuff that appears to be copyrighted, but these guys just didn't care. So, hold on now. Battle Smurf says, I met the actor that played the Gorn in 2023 in Las Vegas. I told him about you. Sadly, his brain was soft. Oh. Is that what you said to him about me, or is that what? Oh, it was a shame. I bet he's a big guy. How cool would that be to meet the actual Gorn, though? We'll make this quick. You will not suffer. When I saw the commercial with Shatner and the Gorn, I thought that was maybe the coolest commercial of all time, after the Cadillac commercial with Neil O'Donnell, which is the coolest commercial of all time. Okay, moving on. Merry Christmas to everybody. Ian Nolan. Bill, one of my main hobbies is cooking. Well, who knew? A few tips for your revised diet on account of brain. Most salt intake is via salts in processed foods. They have to load it up because it's not in a format you can taste until they put in overwhelming amounts. If you cook, put a little bit of salt at the beginning to start any chemical reactions, then get a gourmet finishing salt. Ooh, I'd like the sound of that. Allow me to go to my cupboard where I have my collection of gourmet finishing salts. Okay. To sprinkle on top at the very end. You'll actually taste more salt because it's on the surface to hit your tongue while consuming much less total sodium. Excellent advice. Thank you. If you're learning to cook, my recommendation for a starter book for most is Michael Simon's 5 in 5. 5 fresh ingredients in 5 minutes equals 120 dinners. That's more dinners than I eat in a day. I do use pink sea salt, actually. I do use pink Himalayan salt. It's probably just regular old Morton's iodized salt that they spray with a pink chemical. That's probably extremely carcinogenic, but it looks cool. So, I have Himalayan pink Himalayan salt at home. Because I eat a lot of salt, and when you eat a lot of salt, you got to know your salt. That's the way I look at it. I need to print out Janice Rand. I do. I have something actually better than Janice Rand on this other wall here, but I think she's connected, so I can't really bring her around. She's the first thing you see when you open the door. She's really, really cool. It's a space girl in a bubble helmet, and she's holding a pistol at you, and she's something else. See, Darth Trick the Merciless, my kind of guy. I use pink Himalayan salt harvested by holy men and broken into small granules by virginal firstborn girl children. Yes, exactly right. Is anything better than Yeoman Rand? Well, this is a drawing, but yes, she's considerably better than Yeoman Rand. Although I obviously, Grace Lee Whitney was just so sad. I mean, she just really, really had a very, very hard life. Astro Girl, yes, exactly. It's Astro Girl. Many people who've been here a while remember Astro Girl. But Grace Lee Whitney was, man, she got a lot of guys through their teenage years. I'm telling you. Um, I wonder how many times she's been told that. She died not too long ago, right? I want to say maybe 2021, somewhere in that ballpark, something like that. Maybe a little earlier. Um, but she had a really hard life, and she did not take getting written out of Star Trek very well either. Apparently, they wrote her out because they wanted Kirk to have more romances. But I thought she, you know, 2015 really, wow, 9 years. Uh, just think what Grace Lee Whitley would have contributed to Trek if she'd remained a regular. I think she was cool. She belonged on the landing party. She was kind of like a recording secretary, you know. I thought she was fantastic. Eric Blake says, I once wrote a full-length Star Trek novel with Janice Rand as the central character. Script is buried somewhere. 5-1, she died on May Day, 2015. Yeah, she really hit hard, man, and it shows when she made her guest appearances in the movie. She looked like she'd had a lot of wear on her. Of course, they all kind of did. But written out to save money, I didn't hear that. I heard she was written out because she was. I think I'd heard Grace Lee Whitney say she was written out because she turned down somebody, uh, and that has the ring of truth to it. Janice Rand was originally in the landing party in the city of on the edge of forever. It was changed to Uhura, uh, which I kind of guess is fair, but it just doesn't make sense. I mean, Nichelle Nichols is fantastic, and but it makes more sense for it to have been Rand. She was great in everything. She was great in Charlie X. She was great in Miri. Um, I just had the biggest crush on her. Everybody else did. Grace herself noted that the original plan was for Rand to be Miss Kitty to Kirk's Marshall Dillon. See, they didn't have to actually ever consummate that. Um, it you just play the tension, you know. I think it would have given you a lot of fun moments. But in any event, um, yeah, I completely missed her. I thought she was great. Yes, Lapco 92. I thought she was sexually assaulted by a TV exec. That's what I heard too. That sounds like the most plausible case. And she said no, and somebody said, "Okay, you'll never work in this town again." And it turns out she never worked in this town again. Some rotten people over the hill back there, just behind that wall. Um, so the fans really gave back to her over the decades. Yeah, Kirk complained about having a female yeoman. Maybe he just complained about having one. Um, T Mooney says one of the purple-haired moon-based girls from UFO. They would have been kind of cool too. I like those silver outfits quite a bit. I don't know why. It's a little mystery to me. In any event, thank you very much for the great suggestions about the cooking there, Ian. I appreciate it very much. Road Rider. Bill, how you doing? Bill's doing good, thanks. How are you? Okay, two questions, both not political. Number one, remember the story you told us after Andrew Breitbart died suddenly? When you met him at a restaurant and he kept wanting to talk business, politics, his latest web development, and you told Andrew didn't care about all of that. You wondered if he was doing all right? Yes, I remember that. Jeremy Boring and I called Andrew Breitbart a year before he died, almost to the day. It might have been it might have been 364 days before he died because it was real close to a year. We were in our offices over on Ventura Boulevard. We just moved over there, and we were really worried about him. So we called him. We had a long discussion about whether we should do this, and we decided that we kind of owed it to him. So we called him and asked him out to meet us for dinner at barbecue. Probably not the best choice for a heart patient, but that's what we did. And so we met him at a barbecue place, and he came in with his laptop and opened up and said, hey, you see this latest thing that I just did on Fox or whatever? It's like, Andrew, I don't care about this. I'm not here to listen to I'm not your fan, friend of yours. And then the next day, we got a call in Jeremy's office from Andrew from the hospital where he was recovering from a heart attack that he'd had like that night or the next morning or something. He says, it's not lost on me that you guys contacted me, yesterday, or it might have been 2 days later, but it wasn't any more than that. So then he started taking care of himself and resting more and getting off of the Twitter, and he just really started taking better care of himself, and then he just didn't. And then friends of ours saw him about 4 or 5 days before he died. He was coming out of a hotel. They said just him walking from the lobby to the cab, he looked gray and out of breath and sweaty, and yeah, and I know the restaurant. I know the restaurant real well. He just walked out at the end of an evening. He was apparently making friends with everybody at the bar, and not far from where he lives actually. And he was waiting for a cab or an Uber, whichever. I can't remember which. Probably a cab. 2012 was February 29th, 2012. Died on leap year day. And he just went down, and that was that. So anyway, that's the backstory. So you was wondering if he was doing right. So Red Rider says, I lied. There's actually 3 questions. Do you ever stop for a moment with your self-imposed pressure and all the projects in the air and ask yourself if you're taking your own advice? I have done this lately. Let me just finish the question, then I'll answer it here. Honestly, with zero snark, we want to keep you around for a long time. Merry Christmas to you, Natasha, Bean, and Shelley, those 2 knuckleheads you work with on cameras, and everyone else that I haven't mentioned. I'll be seeing those knuckleheads tomorrow morning in this chair at 6 a.m. Normally we record Tuesday at 10:30 Pacific, but tomorrow it's going to be at 6 because Steve is heading off for Christmas with the family, and he's been kind enough to come in early and shoot some right angles before he gets in the car, because we have been doing right angles and trifectas without fail for 15 years, and we've never broken that streak, so we're not about to break it now. Yeah. So that's a serious question, and the answer to your question is, honestly, I didn't take it too seriously until the MRI and the MRI replies came back, and then I realized I can't afford to act like I'm immortal forever now. So I started walking. I did it's not gigantic. I did a mile yesterday. I did a mile and a half today. Working my way up to higher numbers. It's not nearly enough, but it's a start. I've been cutting back on the sugar and cutting back on way back on saturated fats. And I need to lose another 10 pounds on top of it. The main thing is to get rid of the sugar, this, because I'm pre-diabetic. I don't know what that means. I mean, I can figure out the word pre and diabetic. I just don't know how it works. Do you just suddenly burn out your pancreas and then you get it? So or I mean, I don't understand how that works. My good friend Phil and his wife Bobby said that they've both spent some time with blood sugar monitors on, that they strap to their arm, and then there's an app on your phone that reads your blood sugar every 15 minutes. And they said they were astonishing at the amount of blood sugar spikes and valleys. And they said, that they said that they did a bunch of research, and they said that the highs and the lows are actually worse than constant relative highs. It means my blood sugar is high, says Alex. Glucose number is at or above 120. What is a normal? I don't know. It's funny. It's one of the things that I'm being forced to learn how to do. I sure hope that guy isn't watching, because the guy with a comment, because I hate to be a boomer talking about his health issues, but I was asked. It means there's some costly preventative that they want to say. I'm curious to know what 75 to 125. Okay. I think that everyone who doesn't have diabetes is pre-diabetic. So I'm gonna get a blood sugar monitor, and and I might just order that as soon as we're done here. I'm gonna, when you see me reach for the pen, it's something serious. Um, and I suppose so. The things that they sell at every pharmacy, the spot of blood things, those give you back a number. Is that what those are for? Right? When you the testing kits for diabetics, that's what they're looking for. And it reads out a number, and you want that number to be between 75 and 125. Is that right? Uh, Chuck the Merciless says wife is a type 1 diabetic, has insulin pump and closed loop continuous blood glucose monitor. Wow. I have 18 years of experience with this. She has 30 years experience. Yes, correct. Okay, so I could get one of the, because some of those testing kits are very inexpensive. I'm going to tell you a major character flaw here of mine, and it's not something I'm proud of. But the one thing I will not do, um, continuous glucose monitoring is expensive. The finger stick is cheap. I'm not sticking my finger. I'll stick my arm. I'll stick my elbow. It just needs a drop of blood. As far as I'm concerned, blood from your elbow or your arm is the same as blood from your finger. I'm not taking it from my finger. I'm not doing it. I have um, I have a thing about that. I remember when they used to test me when I was, just little things when I was a kid. Go to the doctor, they just grab your finger, and I just did not want that. I could just see it coming, you know. CGM is a sensor that inserts and you wear it for 5 to 9 days. Wow, that I think that's got to be it. But it's just like this is where you have the highest concentration of nerve endings, or one of them anyway, and I'm just gonna. It hurts less in the finger, earlobe. I'll just do it anywhere. Um, T Mooney says lots of water, small salad with fresh veggies every day. I'm 61 and my testosterone is through the roof. That's another thing, by the way, and that is I am perpetually, chronically dehydrated, constantly. My skin is like sandpaper. It's just dry skin. I don't drink nearly enough water. When I went to one of these intravenous places and I got the oxygenated blood, which was like wow. They took out a couple of bags of prime bilittle blood, and then they ran it through some ozone, and they shook it up, and it just went from dark maroon to bright red, and they pumped it back into me, and it's like, holy cow, this is fantastic. Um, and I just and I'm worried about the plastic in the water supply. Oh, there you go. Red Scourge says poking the earlobe for blood should be called the Trump maneuver. That's epic, man. That's epic. Yeah, I'm just not going to do it to my finger. If you've seen people, it looks like a button taped to their upper arm. That's a CGM. Okay, but yeah, badly hydrated. I'm curious to know what that's got to do with it. I'm 4 quarts low at any given time. We're literally really torturing our kidneys and liver, Roxanne says, and everything else. Yeah, I'm just worried about diluting my precious bodily fluids. John Pershing's kind enough to give a link to a fairly inexpensive and good quality testing kit. Let's see. Measures up to 300 times. How about that? I think I'll pick up one of these tonight. How much water do you drink on a given day? I don't drink any water on a given day. I drink a lot of tea, iced tea, sweet tea. with artificial sweeteners, which is probably even worse. Speaking of which, where is Janie? I haven't seen Janie in a long time. Anybody know what happened to our friend Janie? Because she told me, I'm pretty sure it was Janie who said stay away from artificial sweeteners because it's just chemicals. Fluoridated water, yes, I know. Shinobi says, me too. I'm basically just peeing maple syrup. Janie Waterman, yeah, where is she? She okay? I haven't seen her in weeks. There's your beat us, Bill. Drink 10 ounces every hour for the first 8 hours of the day. After that, don't drink so much that you can sleep without getting up. Artificial sweeteners are neurotoxins. Lapco says, I never drink water. That's what Russ pipes. I'm with you. Mr. Start missing videos. What is Bill fighting? Bill is fighting some high blood sugar issues and pre-diabetic kind of things, but yeah, it's not sugar sweet tea, but boy, I did love myself some sweet tea when I lived in Florida. In fact, you can't survive in South Florida without sweet tea. It's not possible. You got to go to Sonny's Barbecue and get a big ass sweet tea this big, this big. God, those things were delicious. Do I take vitamins and supplements? Phil and Bobby sent me a list of vitamins and supplements, which are great when I take them, and then I stop taking them. So you're dealing with just a bunch of butt-headed decisions from a guy whose butt-headed decisions are causing a lot of wasted space and time. 4 of these bottles a day ought to do it. I can do 4 of these a day. I'll tell you when I do drink a lot of water, and that's when I'm doing a speaking engagement. I drink a bunch of water when I'm either on camera. Like when I was doing firewalls or afterburners, I knocked down 2 or 3 of these. So I should do more firewalls and afterburners. They're just, I think they're a format whose time is come and gone. I thought that the last one that I did on the history of pork had a firewallish quality to it. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you, Road Rider, for the legitimate concern and the kind words and the kind thoughts, and thank you for all the great advice here and so on. Andy Dilovitz says, some sugar, alcohol, artificial sweeteners are sometimes higher on the glycemic index than actual sugar. It's crazy. I need a personal assistant, says Marusha, both for his health and the health of his channel. I do. I need a you know what I need? Here's what I need. I need a guy who sits at the front of the galley with the drums. I need that guy. The whip and the drums, you know? The guy that's, you number 13. Ramming speed. I need that guy. That's what I need. That would really help. I just drink the straight Cara syrup. That'll do it. Fasting gives your liver a chance to give off its glucose. See, I'm learning so much from this. I really do need to learn more about this, obviously, because a lot of this is news to me. Row well and live. Kirk's Bamboo Bazooka. What a cool name. Okay, we got a couple of Ray Juarez's here. Let's see. Hey, Bill, hope you're having a Merry Christmas. Thank you. I hope you are too, Ray. Based on your thoughts last Thursday for the universe being a simulation, warp gates are not such a cheat code. They are a movement glitch. Physicists experiment to find new glitches, but they have to be careful not to find ones that would break the whole simulation. They're looking for duplication glitches or ways to travel faster than the simulation should allow, but they don't want to dupe so many platinum asteroids that it crashes everything. Yes. They don't want to unbalance the system so much that the creator pulls the plug to rewrite his code. Yes. I also thought about that, and my thought was maybe that's what the creator is waiting for. Maybe the creator is waiting for the humans to become smart enough to realize that they're in a simulation and then start looking for cracks in the code, at which point he opens up the universe, because it's still a slow expansion thing. It's not like an instantaneous warp drive. You still have to get out there slower than light. You have to build these things. There's only a limited number of ships that can get through them. So it's a he's just basically loosening the choke point because it's time for the simulation to expand. It's all interesting philosophy that makes for good fig leaf for the breaking the laws of physics part of the science. So that's really great. Don't know how much this could apply in real life, but it might make an interesting plot point in the colonies. It's an interesting, it's just different. This is the thing about the colonies that makes me want to do it is I just want it to be different. I want it to be fresh and new. It's stuff that nobody's seen before. Instead of this, engage, and that was another thing about the Expanse. Oh, it's so realistic. It's set in the solar system. Well, it's set in the solar system until it wasn't set in the solar system. And then they came in with the magic Stargate thing. They had some fun things in there. That business about you couldn't go through it fast. The guy who gets splattered all over his windshield screen was pretty cool. So, there you go. Let's see. Marisha's got a duplication glitch link to YouTube. It's a short, which I'll have to look at later. Okay. A new world awaits you. A new life awaits you in the off-world colony. A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. Searchlights through the gratings on this miserable, rundown, rainy place. A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. Loco 92123. Just for old time's sake, I guess. Anyway, thank you for that, Ray. That's a great point. You don't want to crack the simulation, and you don't want to just spawn infinite platinum asteroids. It's a clever line. That's a very clever line. The Roosevelt Hotel. What makes you say that, Darth Chuck the Merciless? I've been to the Roosevelt many times. I used to have a wonderful time there. John Eden with $100 super chat. Merry Christmas, John. And you have made Christmas for myself, my wife, and the boys in Right Angle a better place. We're all very, very grateful for this continuous, endless act of generosity on your part, and we can't thank you enough. I never fail to be blown away by it, so thank you very much. Very much. Again, John, Merry Christmas to you as well. You're a fine, fine fellow, and you would be even if you weren't sending any super chats. It's very, very, very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Say hello if you can see my message. I see your message, Chris Elisar. Elisar, friend of elves. Hello. Got a second Ray Juarez here. We got an Eric Blake, we got a Marusha Dark, we got a George Freeland. Okay, so we have to do this, I think. Second thing, I think you should try to have the videos go live at around noon on the East Coast. A lot of people pull up YouTube for their lunch break, and having a large burst of people watching the video will probably make YouTube more likely to recommend it to more people. So that's how it works. Also, make sure that your videos do not notify subscribers. It is counterintuitive, but it seems that if subscribers don't immediately click on the video, YouTube will hurt the video. I don't think there's a notify subscribers option that I'm aware of that I've ever seen. We have to look into that. It's also useful. I'm getting so much education tonight. I'm learning so many things. Yes, I am. Learning so many things. Release at noon and the do not notify option. I'll put up I've got to post a video tonight. Release at noon EST. Okay, I'll try that tonight. It's on the advanced options when you upload a video. Okay, so I will release the next Right Angle at noon Eastern time, and I will turn on do not notify. So we'll see. I don't know that they're turned on or off. I'll find out. You're the only channel where I do not skip ads. Does that help? I feel like it does. I don't know, Border Jedi, but thank you for that. It's kind of you. Appreciate that. It's a very noble, generous thing you're doing there. Thank you for both of those, Ray. They're both tremendous pieces of advice and comments. Very grateful. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Eric Blake, tonight the case of Christopher Nolan's cinematic Christmas gift. So, Bill, in the light of the joy of the season, Merry Christmas, Eric, by the way. Merry Christmas to all. I must point to an announcement that cinephiles en masse have been eagerly waiting for and finally got today as a glorious Christmas present. What is Christopher Nolan's announced upcoming film going to be? Ladies and gentlemen, drumroll please, it's going to be an adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey. Wow. Wow. Um, okay. Um, that is going to be epic. Here's in do not notify. Here's okay. Well, it would be nice to see if these things really work because there's a lot of things that, in fact, this obviously shows there's things about my own health I don't know anything about, and things about the health of the channel I don't know anything about, which is one of the problems with being a one-man band. So here's a fun question, Bill. Suppose a miracle occurred and you were the one writing this adaptation for one of the great directors of modern times. What would you want to see in this cinematic epic? How would you want the story done? Well, I wouldn't want it done realistically, um, because when you see how small Troy is, it's really kind of depressing. I actually really liked uh, Troy. I thought that was a I thought that was a fun movie. I thought Brad Pitt was great as Achilles, um, and I really thought that it'd be tough to really improve on that. I think it would be nice to see it somewhat stylized. I think you kind of have to, but I think probably the main thing I would like to see in it would be the just the brutality of that form of fighting. By the way, um, one of the things about that kind of fighting, I got this from Victor Davis Hanson and a number of other books that I've read, is is that when these lines would come together, these guys would just fight and battle, but you've only got so much energy, and then the lines would kind of come apart, and they would just kind of back off a few steps and just breathe and just look at each other and shout curses and stuff and get their breath together, and then they would just kind of just collide again. It'd be really cool to see that, because it was exhausting, and nobody ever really captures just how exhausting that kind of fighting is. What would I like to see? I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Victor Davis Hanson hired as the technical advisor on that movie. That's what I'd like to see. Uh, that would be really, really cool. Um, I think that would be tremendous. Hello, Callan. Um, Still didn't hear about, or if somebody answered, still didn't hear anything about Janie Waterman. I'm a little worried about her. Because it's been a while since I've seen that name, and she's always been so kind and so sweet, and I just wondered if anybody's heard anything about it. 300 I loved. I loved 300. I thought 300 was fantastic. I just really loved that movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. Really liked it. Barking Spiders, 1959. Um, I think you have to go hard one way or another. I think you have to either go pretty hard into the mythological aspect of it, like they did with 300, or you have to go to brutal realism. Um, really, in any event, it needs to have. You can't. I mean, they're just hacking people to pieces with swords, and it's awful business. Awful business. Andrew Lay says, while the lines hold, there aren't that many casualties, maybe 5%. Most of the casualties happen when one side breaks and runs. That is true throughout all of human history. It's always the real killing occurs when one side breaks and is running away. That's why running away is the quickest way to get yourself killed in battle. They just run you down and spear you in the back, or they shoot you in the back, or they run you over with their treads. They're just running away is where all the killing happens. And there you go. So um, that's how I would do it. I'm glad to hear it. It's going to be fun. Is it Eggers? Is it David Eggers or Brian Eggers? I forget his, or whoever. He's doing Nosferatu. That's the one movie I'm looking forward to more than anything. He's my favorite filmmaker. I didn't like The Northman very much, but I thought The Witch was great, and The Lighthouse is one of my all-time favorite movies. A very bizarre movie, not for the typical conservative, but I thought The Lighthouse was just one of the coolest, uh, just one of the weirdest, most riveting films that I've ever seen, and spectacular performances. Um, just really spectacular performances. Uh, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But it's cool to know, and I'm glad to hear that he's got something coming because he makes great movies, no question about it. All right, Marusha Dark. Looks like it's the same topic as we had just a couple of minutes ago here. Topic: cheats and glitches. Bill, continuing on the simulation theory discussion, I was wondering if you were aware of certain computer glitches. For example, integers, whole numbers, are stored as a series of 32 bits in memory. If you take the largest possible value and add 1 to it, it'll actually wrap around to the smallest possible negative number. That's because the first bit is used for designating the sign of that integer. Another includes floating points or decimals, wherein the accuracy of values deteriorates the more refined you get. This is because floats can only store 32 bits, but that includes everything before and after the decimal point. So you can have a large whole number with a few decimal places or a small whole number with a lot of decimal places, but you can't have any large whole numbers with a lot of decimal places as that takes up too much memory. This sounds similar to a significant figures issue. Um, Daddy Albati, sorry, I'll be right back to you, Medusa, says, hey, Bill, if you, in real life, would you have been one of the 300 Spartans? No. There are a number of places where I would have been happy to go to near suicidal things. I've said before, yeah, sometimes I think about Flight 93 or stuff, and wish I'd been on one of those other jets, because I could land one of those jets. I would definitely volunteer for the Battle of Britain, and they'd probably give me a Hurricane, but if I got a Spitfire, I'd be over the moon. There's a number of desperate situations that I find myself wanting to have been involved in, but that kind of fighting, not so much. Um, I remember watching Black Hawk Down, which is a great movie. And when these guys are cornered in the house towards the end there, I just remember being in the theater, just kind of like on the edge of my chair, like, I just wish I could be there to help these guys. I can shoot. I'm not saying I wouldn't turn into a mewling crybaby. Nobody knows they will or what or not until they're shot at. But I like to think that I wouldn't. I've been good in emergencies in the past, and I just I don't know. On the other hand, uh, there is something really. I mean, everybody's got to go sometime, and going out, um, going out like that is a good way to go. Uh, so I don't know. Agincourt, yeah, Agincourt would have been something to see. Battle for L.A. I like that movie a lot, actually. I thought that Battle of L.A. was great. Yeah, I would. I would fight to defend. I would. I'd even fight to defend Los Angeles because it's still flying the same flag as the rest of the country, believe it or not. And I wouldn't now if it were battle for Gavin Newsom's mansion, then I'd be on the side of the aliens. Um, but uh, but yeah, how do you not? You just want to fight. Shelley says that not far from her neighborhood, there are people who've been seen showing up at you know midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning on people's, you know, doorbell cams, just walking up and just testing to see if the house is unlocked. And I remember saying to myself, not just to myself, I said to her too, I said, I'll tell you what, Shelley, I hear this and it makes me want to sit there in a lazy boy with my 45, leave the door unlocked, and just wait for somebody to step clean inside the door, close the door behind them, and then just say hi. Because I have so little patience for that. Just I really, crime makes me insane. It just really, criminals make me insane. Um, Bill, are you aware of Willow Google's quantum chip's recent breakthrough? Its creators claim Willow is communicating with quantum tech from other universes to achieve the results that it did. I'm not aware of that. That is freaking cool. Wouldn't that be something? Cure for Ignorance says, I showed my 7-year-old son a clip of 300 to show him about their shield tactics and show how movies often get things wrong. Yes, but the thing about that kind of fighting was you were responsible for protecting, if I got this correct, and I got a 50% chance of getting it correct, you're protecting the guy on the left with your shield. And the guy on your right is protecting you with his shield. So it's not like you're protecting yourself with your shield. You're protecting the guy on your left. His shield is protecting you. That guy's shield is protecting him. And that's why these farmers, who were just essentially weekend warriors, the hoplites, kept defeating the Persians who had warriors. These guys were soldiers. They were yeoman farmers who whipped these professional warriors again and again and again because they weren't out there for glory. They were just covering their friend or their brothers or their sons. And Hansen has some tremendous books on that. And I think one of them is called Defeating Sparta, or something like that, where the Thebans, of all people, defeat the Spartans. And it's just tremendous. It's a novel, but it's obviously a profoundly well-researched historical novel. And if you haven't read any Victor Davis Hanson, other than his political stuff, Beating Sparta, is that the title? Sounds like it's something like that, if I recall correctly. Extremely great read. Really, really good. Really good. Ancient history class in college, when I was introduced to VDH, Prof had us bring in trash can lids and broom handles to form up lines of battle to get a feel for it. Yep. The Spartans were professional warriors, but the Thebans kicked their butts. Now, this was late in the Greek city-state period. So, anyway. Did you already talk about the Gettysburg shoot-down of the Super Hornet? I didn't hear anything about this. Collision detection, back to Marisha. Collision detection is another interesting beast, as you've discussed, as you have discrete versus continuous. The latter is more robust, but it uses more memory, while the former is cheap, but can lead to objects passing through walls if moving fast enough or positioned at the seams. Thought that might be interesting to know with regards to what you said about the speed of light and other hard limits on the universe. On Thursday, we talked about the colonies and how stargates would work if you had one on either end, and that if simulation theory is true and that we live in a simulation, that this physical breakthrough could be determined by trying to find go places where the universe, temperatures that the universe cannot reproduce, going beyond the value set, seeing what happened if you overstep the parameters of the existing universe. So that's something pretty cool. So thank you for that, Marusha. That's great and cool. William Mills with a late but valuable definition of pre-diabetes means your pancreas is struggling and will become type 2 diabetic if you don't take care of your eating habits and adding exercise. Some people, their pancreas starts to have issues. Okay. Well, I do take it serious. I will, and I do. Thank you. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, interesting link. Okay, and then we got George Friedland, and then we're going home. I got to be back early this morning, tomorrow morning, but in any event, we're doing fine. George Freeland, any favorite comedy sketches from North American side of the pond, i.e. Second City, Kids in the Hall, Upright Citizens Brigade, Whitest Kids You Know, or even SNL? Well, it's certainly not SNL. Whitest Kids You Know occasionally had some fun stuff. Upright Citizens Brigade had some fun stuff. Kids in the Hall was very good. Nothing touches Second City. Second City's the best sketch comedy show of all time. And Mad TV, I would say, is second. The Second City TV is just insanely brilliant. There's nothing comes close to it. I think Second City TV is funnier than Monty Python. In Living Color had a couple of moments. Now he said on this side of the pond. Mitchell and Webb are my second favorite comedy team. My favorite comedy team is oh, come on. Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse. Harry and Paul are the two funniest humans that ever lived. I think Harry and Paul are the all-time classics. Yeah, Fry and Laurie are great. Blackadder has its moments. All of this stuff is great. But Second City, I don't know. I just loved Second City. I loved the cast, and I noticed something about Second City's Kids of the Hall too. Most all of these shows parody show business. Well, Second City obviously did that because they ran it as a TV network, but they really reserve their venom for people who are also in show business, like Catherine O'Hara's Lola Heatherton, is a combination of Lola Falana and Joey Heatherton, is brutal. It's just brutal. Eugene Levy's oh, come on. What is that character's name? I'm not looking. Bobby Bittman. That is brutal. And they just savage. I really loved the Christopher Guest movies too. I loved Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, Mighty Wind, and For Your Consideration. 4 films that were like repertory movies that had the same cast, and everybody's playing, obviously playing different parts because they're different movies, but those 4 Christopher Guest movies, I love every one of them. USS Gettysburg shot down an F-18F over the Red Sea. Well, that's not very good. Somebody's going to get in trouble with that. Best in Show is great. I think I probably like Waiting for Guffman best, just because I thought the Christopher Guest character was just. I was a theater major, and I know all those people, and he just nailed it to the wall, absolutely nailed it to the wall. William Mills says, I'm a type 2 diabetic and not listen to my doctor, so I'm all messed up in other ways that could have been avoided. Okay. I'm taking this very seriously. Also, have you seen any of the videos from Bosnian Ape Society? No, I haven't. Silly animation for people who are clearly aerospace nerds might be a little more highbrow than Skibbity Toilet. Well, everything is. Um, for example, to watch later, here's an infomercial for the McCoy and Grayevich high performance cup noodle. Yeah, McCoy and Gurevich. The Mig, they put the Mig in Mig. We've revolutionized the cup noodle. Okay, I'll look at all that too. Um, all right. Well, um, I'm going to get a testing kit tonight. I'm going to stop by the drugstore on the way home. I'm going to post this right angle, and I'm going to post it for 12 noon Pacific time, Eastern time. And I'm going to drink more water, and I'm going to do all of that stuff. Uh, And I guess that'll do it for this episode, which, as you probably know by now, is brought to you by the members at Pivotal.com, who have been wonderful, and guys like John and the incredible super chats and all the rest of it. It's just absolutely amazing. Looking at dry fasting, that sounds unpleasant for both reasons. Going to drink more water. Going to do a bunch of things. I can't pretend like I'm 20 anymore. Damn it. I will take care of myself. Damn it. Thank you for asking, and thank you for your concern and all your questions and stuff. And if the guy was watching, I'm hoping you enjoyed your hour of a boomer talking about his health issues, because that's what you get. Thank you again to the members. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah for our Jewish friends. Hanukkah starts late this year. I think it starts on Christmas Eve, I think. So all of that. Happy Festivus for those of you who are not religiously inclined. And in any event, Santa Claus is, comes to all good boys and girls, regardless of race, creed, or national origin. Um, so, okay. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for being here. Merry Christmas for all of you. And we will see you here Thursday night, because that's the night after Christmas. So until then, take care. Here we go. We're going to log on out of, and we're not only going to log out, we're going to stop the stream this time. We're just going to break tradition. We're not going to stream for the next 19 hours. We will see you on YouTube. We'll see you on Thursday night. Have a great holiday, and thank you for being here.